Last video I told you that T3 is the active thyroid hormone, and T3 binds to the thyroid receptor and increases the transcription of specific components of our DNA responsible for the production of different proteins. And this is how the active thyroid hormone has its effects all throughout the body. This video will discuss what the effects are, and we will compare what happens if you have hyperthyroidism, which is having too much T3, versus hypothyroidism, meaning not enough T3. You may have heard that the higher your thyroid hormone, the higher your metabolism. This is true. The thyroid hormone does increase basal metabolic rate. But how does it actually do this? The thyroid hormone increases the number of mitochondria inside of our cell, which is the organelle responsible for turning the energy in the food that we eat and the energy stored on our body, specifically in the form of body fat, into ATP, which is subsequently used to power every single reaction inside of the body, such as breathing, thinking, and moving. The more mitochondria we have, the more ATP we can produce. Therefore, the more food and stored energy we will utilize, therefore the faster our metabolism. It does this in a few ways. First, increasing the uptake of glucose and fatty acids, which are then subsequently used to create ATP. Importantly, the cells also require oxygen to produce ATP, and another effect of the thyroid hormone is to increase oxygen consumption. It does this by increasing oxygen uptake by increasing breathing rate, and increasing oxygen delivery to the target tissues. Another important thing is that when we produce more ATP, we will also produce more carbon dioxide and release it into the bloodstream, which is why those with low thyroid typically have low levels of blood carbon dioxide. In addition to increasing the amount of ATP our mitochondria produce, they also increase mitochondrial uncoupling, which is essentially using the same energy that should be turned into ATP, but instead of turning it into ATP, simply releasing it as heat. And this is almost like wasting energy. And the higher our thyroid, the more energy we will dissipate as heat. Therefore, the more calories you will burn in order to create the same amount of ATP, because a portion of it will be lost into the environment as heat. Importantly, this is why people with high thyroids typically have elevated body temperatures, and low thyroid can be diagnosed due to the presence of a low body temperature. When it comes to the metabolic rate, the last thing we will discuss is an increase in the production of sodium potassium ATPases. These are just proteins that sit on the membrane of the cell that use ATP to take 3 sodium from inside the cell and push them into the bloodstream, and simultaneously take 2 potassium from out of the bloodstream and pull them into the cell. The higher our thyroid, the more of these ATP-dependent channels we will have, which is why those with low thyroid typically have low blood sodium, and those with high thyroid might have low blood potassium. So this is the main way that the thyroid hormone affects our metabolic rate. And in the next video, we'll talk about some more nuanced effects of the thyroid.